A little over a week ago, I passed my Part 107. I scored a 92. That was actually a little bit higher than I expected. I had studied pretty hard, but the test itself was still a little bit more difficult than I expected. Obviously, 60 questions. I think I was pretty sure about, I believe, 43 of the answers in the end. It took me about an hour to do the test. The 43, I believe, would have been a 72, which would have been okay. But on the remaining 18 or so, I had quite a couple of, let's say, educated guesses that eventually, obviously, turned out, because in the end, I think I had only 5 questions wrong. So I was pretty stoked about it. I submitted my material on the IACRA site that same day. It was March the 4th. And a couple of days later, I received my temporary certificate. So I was pretty happy about it. So in the next few minutes, I want to tell you a little bit about how I prepared myself for the test, what I did, also what I didn't do, and well, I hope that will provide you perhaps a little bit of an idea of how you can prepare yourself for the test. Now, before I go into detail, or some level of detail, about the material that I used to study for the test, let me just briefly explain why I wanted to do the test. And that's really because as a photographer, which is a hobby, and an artist, a painter, as a hobby as well, I'd like to use a drone to get some material to use in those two hobbies. Obviously, to do some photography with the drone, and also use the drone to take reference photos that I then can use for my paintings. And to that end, I bought earlier or late 22 one of these that you might recognize. It's a DJI Mini 2, and I've really enjoyed flying it. But I quickly realized that if I wanted to use this to sustain that hobby, to use it on my YouTube channel, I couldn't use it without having passed this test. So that was the main reason that I started to look into what was needed to pass the tests. So what did I use to prepare me for the test? I think it was back in December. It was actually back in December, because I know where I downloaded the study guide, the study guide that we probably all have. I downloaded that while waiting on a plane back to the US after visiting my mother back in the Netherlands on Schiphol Airport. I downloaded the file and started reading during my layover and in the plane. Now I'm not very good at reading things from computer, so after arriving back home, I printed the study guide out in bits and pieces, and used it basically as the backbone for what I was doing. Started to watch YouTube videos. Quite a few, a little bit hap-snap, didn't follow any specific order. Well, I must say, I probably started like many others with watching the Tony Northrup video. A little outdated, but it's a good start. And I will actually put links to most of the things that I am talking about in the comment section of the of this video, or down the video, so you can look it up for yourself. But I also realized very quickly that in order to truly prepare well for the study, it was really handy to have the testing supplement that you'll actually get when you are taking your exam. So it has all these sectional charts, it has examples of METARs, it has examples of TAFs, it has all the things that you need during your test. If you go to YouTube and you see the videos of of a lot of different people that have significant or helpful information, you will actually often see that they use a sectional chart out of this book, out of the supplement. But to actually conduct or perform the question, or to truly follow the question and do it yourself, it's important to have this in front of you so that you can put your finger on a latitude or a longitude, that you can actually see actually how small the letters are in this supplement. If you have a little bit of a poor eyesight, you might need reading glasses to read small letters, like I do too. You realize that if you go into the testing site, you may want to bring a magnifying glass. So yeah, order one of these. I think this one was about $10 at Amazon, and very, very, very helpful. I used it during all my practice tests later. So what kind of videos did I actually watch or listen to on YouTube? And I have a list, and I will put them down in the description of the video as well. But I'll name a few. As I mentioned, Tony Northrup was the first one that I watched. Then I started to watch videos here and there to get a little bit of a general feel for the material. Used search functions often to find what I was looking for, and oftentimes I ended up on some of the following YouTube channels. Mr. Mick's Classroom was a nice one. I must say he can be a little bit clumsy, and I think that's a general a warning for some of these channels. Once in a while, somebody may make a mistake in explaining the answer to a question, or even giving the wrong answer to a question. So be careful. But I did like Mr. Mick's Classroom a lot. I like the Drone Coach. It's very dry. I probably listened more to him than really watched the videos itself. Actually, I sometimes would listen to this channel, YouTube channel, while driving to or from work. You can of course not prepare for the Part 107 test without mentioning the Pilot Institute. I did not take their course, but I did watch quite a few of their videos on YouTube, and I must say they were very, very helpful. Would I have been better prepared if I would have done their course and nothing else? I won't be able to say that would be the case. The individual videos were certainly helpful. So let's leave it at that. I watched some of the pilot ride videos, maybe only one. Altitude University. Blocking films, that was a very helpful one as well. It's also a little dry, but I found very helpful information on that channel. And I did purchase the Peltier practice tests. I think that was perhaps $15. I think it used to be a lot cheaper, but I think it was $15. Those are 60 questions tests that you can take over and over again, and they come from a pool of 300 questions that you might find at the Part 107 test. So the first two tests that I did were really helpful from that side. But once you start the third and the fourth, there are more and more questions that you really recognize, and that you don't even have to look up or do any work to come up with the answer, because you remember it. And I could, Garrison Airport, an answer that you'll find on a lot of these test questions, not only from Peltier. The unmarked balloon, you'll find that on different sites. So at one point, those practice tests become a little redundant, because they're all the same, but a lot of them are the same. So don't start to feel too comfortable if you score high on those tests after doing them over and over and over again and actually knowing the answers, because the questions that you get on the real test will be different. You might see a few that you recognize, but you will see a lot that you have not seen before. So it's better to study the material than to try to remember answers on questions that you have seen before. So yeah, that was a little bit how I approached it. Again, the questions that I found on the test, that I got on the test, was a mixed bag. If I read what other people have, got during the test, what kind of questions they got, it seems to be all over the place. I got a really mixed bag of questions, quite a few airspace questions, quite a number of METARs and TAFs, perhaps about 5 or 6, 10% or so. If you study those well, certainly study them in that supplement, and if you can read them, if you can understand them, answering a new TAF or a new METAR that you haven't seen before, it's easy. The sectional charts came up quite a bit. Had some tricky questions there that I thought were a little bit different than the, let's say, ordinary practice test questions that you would find. And then I got a few more than expected questions on fixed wing aircraft. So make sure that you study that part as well. I don't think I got any question on remote ID or And I think I got one question on flying at night, but that was about it. And then of course a bunch of general regulation questions that you kind of know what to expect there. You know, the alcohols, the damage, number of days to do this, number of days to do that. You know, those kind of questions. So yeah, if you have studied that a little bit, those should be easy to answer. So yeah, to wrap things up, I think some of the questions, the wording of some of the questions was a little iffy. There were a couple of questions where I thought, well, that is a weird way of asking, and I had to kind of think twice, 3 times to figure out what they actually were saying, and and that's been said before, and it will be said many times again. You know, read the questions carefully. There are ways that they can kind of play tricks with you, but if you read the questions carefully and the answers carefully, it's very doable. So I hope this was a little bit of a help. I know what I'm saying is not new. Many others have mentioned very similar things in their YouTube videos. But you know, if you think this is helpful, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully, now that I'm beyond the this period of testing and being nervous about flying the drone, I will actually be able to go out and use the drone and start posting more videos with drone footage. So if you feel that this was helpful, you know, let me know. Give it a like. Subscribe if you want to. You know, I'm not going to be begging for subscriptions. This is not a way for me of creating an income. This is just my hobby and it's for fun. But I like to share what I'm doing with others. So stay tuned, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Yes, I gave myself basically 4 weeks to study for the test. And certainly the last 2 weeks were the 2 weeks that I studied the hardest, because I knew I was going to forget things. My memory is not exactly how it used to be, so I knew I was going to forget things. And so about a week, 2 weeks before the test, I started to. I had some notes, handwritten notes, but the handwritten notes were sometimes more difficult to read than I wanted. So I started to kind of type everything up, and I have a kind of a 4-page list of things that I thought were important to remember. It's not in a particular order. I've reordered a couple of things at one point, which of course is easy when you do it on a computer. But those were things that I started to look at on a regular basis, and I think just looking at these things, not over and over and over again, but on a regular basis, that will imprint these numbers, the dates, or the days, distances, etc. So that when you get a question about it, it's like, oh yeah, I recognize that. And so whether that was a big help, I don't know, but I certainly felt confident with it.